We have always looked to the stars in the sky for the answers to life's unsolved questions. Throughout history, we've turned our gaze upwards, to the heavens, all while wide-eyed and wondering whether these celestial beings can somehow communicate something more to us. We'll demystify the riveting realm of mythology on this week's episode of FYI. Welcome to For Your Info.
En inglés.
You got it. Hello, my amigos, and welcome to another exciting edition of FYI, For Your English, the show where we tackle a different topic every week. And if you guys have any ideas for future topics, I'm all ears. I think you say the same expression in Spanish. And don't forget, if what you're looking for is more, if you're hungry, if you're thirsty for more, then stop by my Patreon. That's right, I have a curious community of students over on Patreon. Find out more at patreon.com/Alberto Alonso. In fact, this is a great moment to send a shout out to all of you who are my students and supporting the work I do every week. So a nice shout out to Mara, Javier, Francisco, Tony, Roberto, David, Jose Maria, Mila, Alex, Patricio, Edgar, and Lolis. And don't forget about my interstellar students, Paco, Diego, Carmen, and Diana. Keep up the great work, guys. And if you're interested in getting bonus audio, or you're interested in PDFs with all the vocabulary and classes with me, you can find out more at patreon.com/Alberto Alonso. Now is the moment you've been waiting for. Guys, we have a very special guest here who, when he originally told me about this, he freaking blew my mind. Vamos a dejarlo claro. Freaking o friggin es una forma de no decir la otra palabra con F. So we could say he friggin blew my mind with some of the stuff he was telling me. And I roped him in, le engañé, I roped him in to come do a podcast with us because I thought not only was this interesting, but this was an interesting topic to look at in English as well, since a lot of the vocabulary is associated. And it ended up being almost, I'll let Damian tell you. I was going to say it's about etymology, it's about the planets, it's about us, it's about so much, these discoveries that you've made. So let's hear it, as I always say, straight from the horse's mouth, directamente de esa fuente. Give it up for Damian Moya.
Hello, Alberto. What's up? It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you sounded like a native over there. Thanks for having me. Gracias por tenerme aquí.
Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure, dude. And I have to say, I always thought you were a bright guy. But this book, man, wow. You blew my mind when it was just a conversation when you were working on the book. And I remember with all your books, especially the ones we worked on together,
Yeah.
I was eager to see them. And this book is chock full of, repleto de useful information, and it also shows us that there are a lot of misconceptions. We're doing a lot of things wrong.
Totally, because when you don't know about classic culture, classic culture, understanding it like the ancient knowledge, that back in the day, it's like everybody knew stuff. The intelligent people knew some kind of stuff.
Right.
That we are ruling out nowadays. And that's a mistake, because if you don't understand classic culture, you don't understand the world you're living in.
Right. Well, because history repeats it. I mean, there are many reasons we need to learn from the past. Right?
Exactly. And it's like everybody thinks so. Like this advert says on TV, if you don't know history, then it can be repeated. Like, right. Don't bring Hitler again. But that's all we know, to be honest, about history. And then if you study a bit of history and you understand how the world has been created, the structure of the world, has the base on the Greeks and the Romans, right?
Right.
But we don't get to know them usually, especially in school.
We study the basics, I guess, like with anything.
Yeah.
We don't really, como decimos en inglés, we scratch the surface.
Yeah.
So we know that Zeus is the king of kings, the god, the big god, the big cheese, no? He's the Richard Vaughan of mythological gods.
Exactly, but that's the problem, because when you study classic culture, you study a little piece of a puzzle, right?
Right.
And but you're just studying that, so it doesn't have a context.
Mm-hmm.
So when you study it, it doesn't make sense. It's not until you have studied a lot of pieces that you start seeing the whole picture.
Well, you just said the expression I was thinking, the big picture, el panorama total.
Exactly.
What does an investigator or an FBI agent do? They put all the pictures up on the wall and they try and connect them.
Exactly.
So you're saying what they tell us in school is, here's one little picture, you can figure out the rest.
Yeah, that's why this book, what tries is to bring classic culture from things that you already know, just like we did with This Book is the Milk.
Right.
So, for example, I took the months, the days of the week, brands that you know, everything, all the world is based on that. And once you get to know it, it's like if you saw Matrix. You can see the Matrix
in English.
The Matrix, right? So everything will change in your mind once you know all this information, that it's so cool. And
it's pertinent. It's pertinent to how we live our lives, to how we view time.
Yeah.
Which, as you said to me, and we're going to explain to everybody, we got it all wrong.
To everything.
We got it all wrong, which is no surprise. I mean, if you look at the state of the world right now, you know something wasn't right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's true. I love what you're saying, because everybody knows about Greek tragedy.
Yeah.
And hubris, excessive pride, and Sophocles. And everybody knows about, the Romans and Julius Caesar, the die is cast. Mm-hmm. But do we really know how they're connected to each other and how they're connected to now?
Yeah, that's the thing. Because, for example, if you know about history, you will realize, for example, how Julius Caesar was not a real emperor at any moment. What he was a dictator. They invented this kind of thing, the dictatorship, and it was not a dictatorship the way we understand it.
Right.
It was just that if you had a crisis, the Senate will choose the consul, and they will give him full power to do anything that he would need without opposition.
Okay, that sounds familiar.
That sounds familiar. Exactly. That's what happened. And that sounded, that's the same that happened recently in Spain, for example, or in so many countries with the COVID. We gave him full power to Pedro Sanchez for 6 months.
Right. All leaders. Look at Australia.
Exactly. So for 6 months, they have been dictators.
Right.
And that doesn't mean they are Franco or something.
Right. Or there's going to be concentration. Right.
Exactly. But knowing about the meaning of the words will change the way you see it.
And words change their meaning. Symbols change. I remember when I went to Japan and I looked at a map, in the morning before I was ready to go sightseeing, and I saw swastikas everywhere. Mm-hmm. I saw Nazi, and I was like, what kind of place did I come to? And it's Kyoto. I'm thinking a peaceful, lush, frondoso. Yeah. And I'm seeing and then my wife, who studied a little bit more about symbols, which change meaning, said that's a symbol for a temple, a religious place.
Yeah.
So symbols change, words change, and days of the week change. Tell us a little bit about this, because this is the first thing that piqued my interest.
Totally, because it's so close to everyone, right? Mm-hmm. The days of the week. If you start studying about them, it will blow your mind, because almost nobody knows that the name of the days are based on the planets, and so many people don't know about it. But if you realize lunes, it's because of the luna.
Luna, moon, sure.
The moon, exactly. Just the same as Monday is the moon day. Oh. So the thing is and there is a comparison in English and Spanish. It's like the same, but a bit different. So
everybody has their own variation of it.
Yeah, but it's funny because the Latin days are based on the Greek days, sure, and those days are based on the planets. And why the planets? Because the ancient people saw that in the sky there were 7 different stars from the others. So most of them
stood out, destacaron.
Exactly, they stood out because they moved.
Right.
That's what planet means. It comes from planet asteroid. That means star is like a roving star, una estrella que se mueve.
Okay.
Es una estrella errante. That's what planet means. So there were 7 different things there: the sun, the moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, and that's the thing. So they are naming the days of the week after those planets, and those planets are named after ancient gods. Okay, so first of all, we have the Greek ones, but then Romans translated to the Roman ones that are almost the same. Okay, it's like they copy them. So if you realize, we have lunes por la luna, martes for Mars, the god of war. But at the same time, the English people have the Nordic gods, and that would be Tuesday because of Tui, the god of war too.
Oh, so they both use the god of war, but they both use their word for it naturally.
Exactly, but it's kind of the same. And it's important to know, we all know Mars, right? The god of war. He likes killing and he's very passionate.
He's bloodthirsty, como decimos.
Totally, and that's why Latin people, we have this character because we are their sons, right? It's
descendants.
Like we are the descendants of Venus and Mars, right? That's what Romans are. The Latins are that, and that's why our character is so passionate, right? But then it's important to know a little bit more about Tui because he's more unknown to us, right?
Yeah, because of course in the Latin world, the Nordic gods are types of beer.
Yeah, exactly. So Tuesday comes from Tui, and one of the things he has, for example, is that one thing I like, the ancient warriors, the Vikings, when they killed people in a war and a battle, they would chop the hand of the rival when he was dead, and they would consecrate that hand to Tui because Tui was one-handed.
So it was a sacrifice to Tui of sorts to give him the hand he was missing.
Exactly. And why was he one-handed? Why was he missing a hand?
I mean, shouldn't gods have all their members? I don't know. I feel like God should be perfect, not imperfect.
Well, his story is pretty cool. The gods had a wolf with them. It was Loki who had created him. And that wolf was growing and growing. He was giant and he was very dangerous. So they tried to fool him, to chain him. So they were kind of challenging him and telling the wolf, hey, let's try these new chains we have and let's see if you can break them.
Like a challenge, sure.
Like a challenge. And he would say, okay, chain me. And he could break the chain. So they tried again with something harder.
Thicker chains.
Yeah,
sure.
But no way.
He broke free every time.
So the dwarves created this rope, this magic rope with crazy things. And they told him, hey, we challenge you again with this super cool rope. But the wolf was not stupid and he realized there was a trick in there. And he said, okay, I am accepting the challenge, but I want someone to put his hand in my mouth for me to assure that you're not fooling me. And the only one who was brave enough to do that was Tui, the god of war.
And he had to make an example too in front of his people, like,
exactly.
I'm no coward. Okay, bring it on.
Exactly.
Bring
so what did he do? He put the hand and the rope worked. So the wolf bit off his hand.
Yep.
He bit off his hand and he lost it. Well, that's a little bit of the story about Tui that now we know him.
Tuesday. Sure.
Tuesday, exactly. He has the Tuesday. Okay, when we go to Wednesday, if you say miércoles, you will see that how Mercurio.
Sure.
Mercurio is in there. Mercury,
in
the
English.
god of commerce, mercado, market.
Oh, wow.
Mercado is Mercury, comes from Mercury.
Hasta en inglés dice mercantil.
Mercantil,
So
exactly.
we use, again, this is not just a lesson in mythology today. This is etymology.
Exactly, totally. And, well, he was the god, he was the messenger of gods, okay? The messenger of gods. He was very quick. In fact, his Greek version, Hermes, was the same, right? He's the messenger of God, and he will help the souls of dead people to cross to the other land.
Sure. The great beyond.
The great beyond. Okay. And well, you will see Mercury in many symbols of commerce everywhere, and you go to buildings and you will see him all over the place.
Right. When
It's
you know
very
what you're
popular.
looking for, you can find these symbols in
Yeah.
New York City and Madrid or any city in the
all
world.
over the place. It's unbelievable. But when you go to Wednesday, that comes from Odin. The great
I've
god.
heard of Odin. I've heard of this one.
Yeah, he's Thor's father, right?
De ahí, claro.
Yeah, he's like this old man with a long beard.
So it's good to watch Marvel movies, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, totally. They are totally inspired in Nordic gods, especially when they're talking about Thor.
Right.
Odin is the god of the dead, and wisdom.
Okay.
So the fighters, when they died in a battle, they were supposed to be picked up by the Valkyries.
Okay.
And they would send them to an eternal feast with Odin that would pay for all the food and drink.
Well, a feast.
A feast. Exactly,
comer.
feast, not fest. Feast. And it's kind of the same thing as Muslims, right?
Oh,
It's like, okay, if you die in combat for the Saint War, we'll give you a prize when you die.
Right.
It's the same concept.
Sure. There's a reward.
There's a reward. But here's the thing. When you see Tuesday, it's the same. The god of war is in both of them. The moon is the same in lunes, luna, moon day. It's the same. But here, it's very weird because I don't see how Mercury is the same as Odin. They don't look alike.
Right.
Okay, let's let this here. I'm going to continue with the gods.
But in general, you can draw parallels, whether they change the name or the way.
Usually you can, but in this case, they are two different.
Okay.
They are both psychopompous, that meaning that they will help you to cross the place.
Okay, so they have the same task, the same function.
Yeah, but only one. All the rest of the functions are different. That's why
Gotcha.
I got suspicious about this day.
You're like, I got to look deeper into this.
Yeah, I need to study this at depth. Okay, then let's go to Jueves. That will be for Jupiter.
Jupiter. Oh,
Jupiter.
Claro.
Jupiter is Zeus. Is the Roman version for Zeus, the god of thunder, the god of lightning. And the most important god in Greece.
Yeah, the
right?
big cheese, right?
Yeah,
I think there's Zeus and then there's everybody else.
Yeah, and in English, you have Thursday for the day of Thor. And Thor is the god of thunder too, right?
Okay, right. Yeah,
So
with his hammer there.
Yeah.
Sure.
He has the hammer. But not everybody know that the way that Thor traveled was in a chart, un carro.
Like a carriage
Like a
or
carriage.
a chariot.
Yeah, but he had no horses. He had goats with him.
wow.
Yeah,
That's
that's
weird.
weird, right? And he traveled with the goats, and when he was hungry, he would kill a goat, and then he would bring it back to life with a hammer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I didn't know that.
So he's killing his own goat the whole time. It's crazy. But
Well, Thor is the goat, though. The greatest of all time. Okay, really bad joke. Really bad joke.
Okay, let's go to Friday, el viernes.
Okay.
Viernes, it's for Venus, the goddess of sensuality, the goddess of love, right? In fact, the festivity of Venus was a festival where everybody made love non-stop.
Oh, so it was like an orgy kind of thing.
It was an orgy, yeah.
Right,
Most of the parties in Greece were orgies and
Right.
eating and having sex.
Right.
So that's why las enfermedades venéreas are called that way, because it comes from Venus.
Venereal disease.
Yeah,
amigo.
Yeah. Boom. She's Greeks called her Aphrodite. And that's why we have aphrodisiacos, right?
Sure, an
For Aphrodite.
aphrodisiac, oysters, for example.
Yeah. In the meantime, English people have Friday. It comes from Frigga, Thor's mother. That was Odin's wife. Okay.
Jeez.
In fact, it was not her real mother. He was adopted. Okay. Because Odin had this baby Thor with a giant woman named Jord that would be kind of the same like the Earth.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's how Thor was created. Frigga is the goddess of maternity.
Okay.
So she took care of him. So on the one hand, we have this goddess of sensuality. And in this case, for Nordic, is the goddess of maternity, not the same goddess, okay? But still, you would compare it. You could compare it. But then we have the Saturday. Okay,
My
Saturday.
favorite god.
Yeah, what a great god. Saturn. In English, it's obvious that it's Saturn.
Yeah, I was going to say, ahí de cajón.
But Saturn is not a Nordic god. What does he do in your week and not in our week, in the Latin one?
Oh, right.
In fact, if you realize, we miss him because Sábado doesn't come from Saturn. It comes from Sabbath, the relaxing day.
The day of rest,
The
sure.
day of rest for the Jewish.
Sure.
Right?
We all know Sabbath in the United States, well, because we have a lot of Jewish population in the United States, and the group Black Sabbath.
Yeah, but as we don't in Spain, because we expel them in the Middle Ages, we don't know, like, Sabbath comes from Jews, but it should come from Saturn, right? In fact, originally, the name of the day was Saturn Dies.
Saturn Dies.
Exactly, yeah.
They made it even more obvious. But
and for the Greek ones was Kronos, the god of time.
okay.
So
claro,
Saturn,
Chronometro. It
all
makes sense.
It all makes sense, totally. In fact, Saturn is the god of la cosecha, the
crop.
the god of the crop. But he also takes being the god of time because of Kronos, because it's kind of the same.
Well, what do crops need? Time.
Yeah,
to grow.
They need time, totally.
Right.
That you need to know when it's going to rain. You need to know.
You got to look at the stars and the planets and decide.
And you pray for Kronos to bring the water that you need.
Again, guys, they didn't have an Apple Watch, so they knew when to plant the seeds based on where the moon was and where the sun was. So, we're thinking of it like, oh, they were, up there kind of dreaming. No, for them, it was practical.
Yeah.
And they decided to give them all a deeper meaning. But for them, it was really it was their clock. It was their way of keeping time.
The Egyptians already knew about it because they were planting the whole time, so they needed a good calendar, and they nailed it.
The Egyptian calendar, they got it right.
Perfect. It's almost perfect because they already knew that we're spinning around the sun. That's amazing.
They figured that out, sure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to Domingo. Domingo comes from Domenica, that meaning the day of the Lord. Okay?
Right.
It's like the day of Jesus Christ.
Anno Domini, AD. En el año de nuestro Señor, que es después de Cristo.
Después de Cristo. Domenica comes from Christ.
Domini, yep.
So it's the day of Christ, but not for English. English, you have Sunday, the day of sun.
Oh, it literally is the sun there.
It's the sun, because it's a planet.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, everything revolves around it, at least in our...
Because we have to remember, we're not talking about gods, but about planets. But when you see how these planets are named, it makes sense why those names are...
They weren't given haphazardly, al azar.
Exactly.
No, decir, Saturn, there was a reason behind everything they did. It was a logical purpose.
In fact, if you realize, back in the day, the beginning of the week was on Saturday. On Sunday.
Yeah, most calendars in the United States start the week on a Sunday.
Exactly.
If you look at the calendar, even though Monday we start working...
That's a Jew way of thinking. That's why Sabbath is on
that's
Saturday.
What Jews say. Okay, bad joke. I'm trying to put a little humor into it. That's what Jews say.
That's what Jews say. Okay, so they started the week on Sunday. And that's why the seventh day, that is when God rested, that's the Sabbath.
The Sabbath,
but it's not
I think that's
Sunday.
well known in the States. Everybody, even non-religious people know. And the Lord rested on the Sabbath.
Yeah, everybody knows
it's como
that, right?
Adam and Eve, Adán y Eva. Everybody knows the story.
Exactly. There are certain things that everybody know. Okay, this is a little bit of the introduction of the characters we're going to talk about.
Introduction or introduction?
Introduction.
Esa me gusta más, yeah.
The introduction of the characters we're going to work with in the second part. Because here's my crazy theory, and it's something that is gonna blow your mind and it's gonna change the world forever.
Oh my!
As we know it,
it's groundbreaking, earth-shattering. What you are about to find out in the bonus part. We're not gonna give it all to you in this part. We're gonna tell you a little bit more, but then in the bonus part, we're gonna talk about how we got it all wrong.
Exactly. My theory is that Wednesday is misplaced in the English week. So we have to get rid of Wednesday, and we have to change the position of that day, and we need to create a new day in order to get a perfect week as it is supposed to be. Some mistakes in the past have brought us till this point where the week is wrong. and we need to fix it. And that's what I've done in this book. Oh my God. And I'm going to tell all about it in the second part. So
we're going to talk about how it's broken and how we can fix. Damian, what I love about Damian as a friend is he's not just somebody who explores things, but he looks for solutions too. Totally. So you're like, okay, let's see if we can fix what the Greeks and the Romans, these people had to get together, and Damian has done this beautifully, descriptively. It's a visual. It's a beautiful book. If you judge a book by its cover, como va la expresión de juzgar por apariencias, I would definitely pick up a copy. A copy es un ejemplar. No digo que hagas copias ilegales. I would pick up a copy of this book. It's called Oh My God. The subtitle says it all. La mitología que no sabías que sabías. So what Damian has done is taking all these names, all these things that we're all familiar with in some way to a lesser or greater extent, and he has demystified them, but in a fun and practical way that applies to today. And I think that is where the beauty is, because anybody can say, okay, I'm going to tell the story, I'm going to connect all the dots, como se dice, but you're going a step further. And you won't just learn vocabulary, but you'll learn a little bit about how the universe is connected, how different civilizations have seen the universe. And as we said in the beginning of the show, I think that's the best way to understand where we're going in the future.
Yeah, totally. We need to learn history, and you know what? I don't think politicians wants us to know history.
They don't want us to know history, and
In fact, classic culture is going to be expelled from schools.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at least in Spain. So, and I think it's a huge mistake, because if we don't know the past, we're screwed up. We still know. It's okay to know about computers, of course, and we have to know how to compute and programming. But come on, we need at least to know the basics about what happened in the past, and you really want to know it. And when you get to know it, dude, it changes your life.
As we say in English too, the rabbit hole goes deep. When you start to pick apart different theories and start exploring things, you start to realize that things are a lot more connected than you ever realized. And it's crazy because as somebody who's spoken many languages, and I've always loved languages, I have never stopped to think of these connections.
Yeah.
But you didn't only make these connections, as I said. You've gone a step further and said, okay, that's great. How can we fix this? How can we change the course of history? So that's the book is called Oh My God, La Mitología que no sabías que sabías. Damian, where can they pick up a copy of the book?
Everywhere. It's all over the place, but mostly Amazon, of course, and Casa del Libro, and every bookshop in your town. If it's a bit big, much better. Because
Damian, puedes resumir todo con wherever fine books are sold.
Wherever.
Es la frase. Wherever fine books are sold.
Exactly.
En todos grandes. No, what do you say?
En todas las tiendas del ramo.
I think you say en todos grandes almacenes or something in Spanish.
Yeah, but las tiendas del ramo is the old-fashioned way to say that exactly. That's precise sentence. Yeah. En todas las tiendas del ramo.
Wherever fine books are sold, you can pick up a copy of this book. And you can learn. It's fascinating. I have it here, and I've taken a look at it. My wife read it as well. So congratulations on the book. As I said, in the second part, we're going to solve the world's problems here in English, and we're going to give you guys some more information from this book. And Damian, before we get going, because I'm always interested as an idea guy, is when was the aha moment? When was that moment where you said, okay, I'm on to something? Aquí tengo algo. I've got to write this down and start putting it into a book.
Yeah.
What was that aha moment?
I think it was precisely with the days. Well, no, it was not that. The first question I was asking myself, it was like, why September isn't in the 7th position, right? Because September, séptimo, right? And October should be the 8th one. Octubre, octavo.
Pero no.
Noviembre, noveno. Diciembre, décimo. It's obvious, but it is misplaced.
Right.
So what the hell happened?
You had to
there?
find out why.
Exactly. That's when I started studying a little bit about it. And the deeper you go, the more amazing it is. It is the best topic ever. I went nuts with it.
And folks, we're going to learn more about that in the bonus part of today's FYI. FYI.